This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.
Hey, what's happening, you guys? Welcome back to Let's Go Win podcast. I am here today for a Tuesday tune-up, and I'm J.M. Ryerson. And to my right,
I'm Lisa Ryerson.
Good morning, my love.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. In fact, what we're going to be talking about today is how to start your day off as best you possibly can. And one of the things that I like to do is set my intention for the day. So, did you set your intention this morning by chance?
I do. You know, a general intention that I have every single day is making sure I have fun. Some days are more challenging than others. For example, right now, the kids are out of school, right? And they kind of have this hodgepodge of all-stars baseball, tennis lessons over here. I have become the lunch lady once again. I was a lunch lady for many months during COVID, and now here I am. I mean, it just seems like they won't stop eating. It's like 2 lunches, and then there's 2 dinners. And so I just need to make sure that I have fun in the day while doing these things that may not be so fun for me sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with you because maybe being the lunch lady, to all those lunch ladies, apologies, but maybe it's not that fun for some people that aren't professionals at that. But no, the truth is you do have to be very mindful of, if you will. Like, for instance, I fly out today and I have a lot of work I have to get done, including what we're doing now before. So I have to be very efficient. So my intention today was to just get the most efficiency possible in a very short window of time, meaning no wasted energy on, social media or perhaps phone calls, like being extremely diligent about not taking, things that are just not in line with trying to get to the airport, packed, all those things, because I didn't prepare very well. So I set my intention with efficiency this morning. So is this something that you do normally? Is it like, for me, it's the first thing I try to do every single morning. I'll set my intention.
No, I know you do. I think that's great. A lot of times mine is more of looking at my calendar and going, okay, what does my day look like? But I do it the night before. So the night before, it's really not an intention based, but the night before I'm like, here are all the things I need to get done. What needs to happen to make sure it's more of a task list per se. But I like setting an intention because I think that makes it really good.
You know what I just realized though? You do set, being type A, shocker. My wife is a bit type A.
Just a little bit. Just tiny.
You set intentions in advance. I just realized this as I'm thinking about it, because you will literally set a date night once a month, a minimum, and typically it's more than that. You will set up specific time to go away with the kids. You set up things far in advance, so you may not wake up. So for me, I set it every day because I don't think that far in advance. Again, case in point, I knew I was flying out today. I've had several days. I've had a week I could have packed. I just didn't. Instead, mine is a bit more reactive, if you will. And so you do set your intention. You just set it a month in advance.
I'm a planner and a preparer, and I've got my calendar is like my life, right? Like I seriously sit there and go, okay, I can squeeze this in here. And it has, I think, made me very efficient in my own brain, at least. I may not be efficient, but I feel like I'm very efficient of getting all things done, because I do have a lot of girlfriends that are always like, we don't know how you do it all, right? Like you have the kids, you have your 2 businesses, you have all these things. I'm driving, especially now, like without help from, my parents, because we used to live close, to my folks, and I would get a lot of help that way. Now we're on our own, basically, and getting it all in, social events, everything. But I love that. I don't know. It's a weird, it's kind of adrenaline rush for me, is to look at all these things I got done.
So I'm realizing the subject matter of setting it each day may not apply to you. It certainly doesn't to her. For me, it does. So maybe that's a reactive versus proactive approach. So some of the examples that I'm going to give you. And maybe this will resonate with you where you're like, yes, I do that in advance because I'm looking at the list that I wrote out and you do it, just not that moment. You do it far in advance. So for instance, this one I look at every single day on my daily reminders, have a growth mindset. That's one of my intentions that I try to wake up every morning with, especially if I'm going to do something I'm not good at, if I'm going to do something I don't necessarily like. I tell myself, hey, in advance, have a growth mindset because, and you know this, you'll tell me, hey, I need you to be open right now because especially in my, let's say mid 20s to early 30s, I would say, nope, that's not what I'm into. I'm not going to do it. And I've hopefully grown in that regard. But this one I use a lot. Have a growth mindset.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I don't plan on that one. I think that one is more reactive for me, where I'll come up to something and I'm resisting it. And of course, not only do you call me out on it, our kids do as well.
And actually, maybe it's not growth mindset, but in preparation of, let's say, again, we love our parents, both of them, but let's say my folks or your folks, maybe a better example. They're coming to visit. You prepare in advance for this. And I'm talking weeks, if not months in advance, saying I need to mentally prepare myself because we love them, but they're coming into our space and you and your mom, in a good way, it can be a little trying for you to have her be controlling and in the home. So I guess you do set that intention. It's just far in advance.
Yeah, it's really mentally preparing myself, right, for what is to come. But I do that with anybody. I mean, yes, more so with my mother, God bless her, but with everybody, with even our guests, right? Like anybody who's coming in, or it's just a mental preparation. These are the things that are going to happen. You know, I'm saying the intention, I want them to have the best time possible. Funny thing is, I was talking to one of my girlfriends and we were talking about having moms come visit, right? And she goes, yeah, you're inviting like the most critical human to come into your home. It's just a critical lashing of sorts for like a week or 2 weeks or whatever, right? And so I think for a long time I used to get anxiety over, and I don't get anxiety very often at all, but it would just be this like heart palpitation, like, oh my gosh, my mom's coming. She's going to think this isn't perfect. This isn't perfect. You know, that's how I grew up, was everything had to be perfect. And so I'm like constantly cleaning the house, making sure everything's perfect. And they've now come 3 times since we've moved here in the last 6 months. And I'll tell you, by the 3rd time though, I was like, nope, I'm good. Like I still had to mentally prepare myself, but things are not going to be perfect. And you know what? It's our home and she's going to find something wrong regardless. And so I just had to go, it's okay.
Yeah. And I remember this because you literally did set the intention that I want to enjoy the time with my parents.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm not going to worry about whether she's being critical or controlling or whatever,
right.
But you do. So again, I call it setting your intention. You call it getting your mindset right. However you want to look at it, you have done this at least, I believe, several weeks in advance and continue to do it. So another one is do something nice for my family. Again, I'm extremely reactive on this, i.e., if she tells me or acts out in a way that she's not feeling that I'm doing this, I'm like, oh, we should go do something together, where, again, you plan in advance, like, let's make sure we go do something. So again, setting that intention. Plan a date night with my partner. Very reactive, as in fact, this is something I really need to work on, but something that you're very good at and probably why I've become so lazy. You set that out every single month.
Yeah, for about 20 years now.
Yeah, so
I've realized it's my fault. Like for the longest time, I thought I was like, oh my gosh.
Did everyone hear that? Hold on. Marker, it's what?
This could be my doing. I'll rephrase that. Because I think I have very high expectations of everybody, right? I have a high expectation of my friends, high expectations of you, high expectations of the children. And I just always would get upset about it and go, gosh, James not romantic. There was a time where you were romantic. I don't know what happened. It's just as years went by, kind of fell by the wayside.
Not true. Another show. Don't have time to get into it, but continue.
So it got to the point where I was like, you know what? If I want something, I'm going to do it. Right. And that's kind of my outlook on everything. If I want something, I'm going to get it done. I'm going to earn it. I'm going to work my butt off. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get what I want. Right. And so I just figured I'll just start planning it. So yes, over the years, it's been planned out, handed on a platter for you. So it's just on your calendar and you just have to show up.
Yeah, I'm great at that. If it's on my calendar, I will be there. Look, camera, I'm telling you right now, you put it on my calendar, I will be there. Rarely do I reschedule. So a couple others before we finish up. Having a grateful attitude just in general. That's another one of the real common ones that I do is just the gratitude practice. And here's one that I think everyone can definitely relate to. If you are overwhelmed, i.e. a lot of Mondays, especially let's say you go away for a week and then you come back and your house is a mess, you have emails like crazy, you have all these things going on, there's a moment where you can feel extremely overwhelmed. And this one thing of being intentional is I'm going to do one thing at a time. I have to remind myself that several times through those typical Mondays where, because the feeling can look overwhelming. It's like, I have this to do, this to do, this to do. I have a task list this long. And the feeling of being overwhelmed is not a great one, at least for me. So this is one that I use quite often. And I don't know that I've ever verbalized that to you, but I will literally be like, nope, I'm going to get this thing done. And I just start going down my list, one thing at a time. Do you have one that you really practice other than when people come to town or your folks come stay at our house?
Yeah, well, I usually have a freak out moment when I feel overwhelmed because it happens, right? Like this move, we moved 6 months ago. This move has been challenging and it gets overwhelming at times, especially when you have 6, 7 different vendors like coming through your house, you know, from drapery to lighting to whatever. And I have to stop myself a lot of times because I'll just get overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. Like, blah, blah, blah. I can't wait for this to be over. And just stop myself and say, oh my gosh, how fortunate are we to be able to have drapes on our windows, right? To be able to have light in our house, like, and just bringing it back to that because, and I do this with the kids all the time because sometimes, you know, as grounded our children are, and we do our best as we can to ground them and humble them every single day. Because my goal was to never have spoiled children. I've been around many spoiled children and I just knew that was never going to be my kids. But sometimes they do get they forget, right? Especially our youngest, like Trey will get a little uppity about things like, oh, well, this hotel is not as nice as remember when we went to this other hotel that was fine? I mean, he's very bougie, get me wrong. And I don't know who he gets that from at all. No, it's me. But I have to remind him be grateful that you actually get to go on vacations. Be grateful that you play on a baseball team, right? Be grateful that you have a good bat. That's our newest one, right? He's been talking about this USSA bat. It's like $400. We just bought him a new bat, but it's a USA bat, not a USSA bat. I don't even know the difference. But
one is for travel ball, one is for normal Little League.
Yeah.
That's it.
And so, but when he uses the USSA bat that his friends have, they go crazy, right? I mean, he's like, oh, Mom, there's this pop. I hit a homer. I did this, all these things. And he wants it. And I go, let's just be grateful that you have a bat, a really nice one. And we're not going to get you that until you play travel ball.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, look, a lot of big leaguers, literally, they grew up with no bats and they have made it to the league. I mean, there's countless examples, especially from the Dominican, where these kids were hitting with sticks and literally rocks and they hone their skills. So thank you for doing that, by the way. So if this idea is foreign to you, setting your intention every single day, give it a shot. It's one of my favorite things to do every single morning. I set up and I say, what am I going to do today? And I want to be joyful today. I want to have a growth mindset today. I want to be efficient today. I want to do one thing at a time today. Whatever that is, I promise your day will look that much clearer going that way. So yeah, it's kind of a new idea for a lot of people, but it's something that's made a difference in my world for sure. So we have a online course that's out.
Yes, we're almost there this week. Oh, actually, it would be out by now. Yeah,
It will be out.
It will be out by now. Very excited about that. So check your emails if you're on our email list. Make sure you come on our website. There's gonna be tons of information, but super exciting stuff coming. So check it out.
All right, you guys. Until next week, continue to set yourself up to win every single day. Setting your intention is one of those ways. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If this content is delivering value to you, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. That helps us build this community, and that is what we are all about. Building this community as big as we can, helping as many people as we can, and deliver as much value as possible. Be sure to head over to letsgowinpodcast.com for information on my coaching courses, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Let's Go Win 365. Let's go win and transcend in life.
This is the Let's Go Win podcast with your host, J.M. Ryerson.